it's a chamber thriller. If one is going to characterize it, say what genre this is. I don't think it's horror. It's got elements of it in there, I suppose, but it's very much a chamber thriller, and it's really a descent into, I think, kind of madness.
How you doing today, Stephen?
Very well, thank you, Grant.
I'm very excited to talk about Old Man. I went into it having heard a few things from festival showings, but knowing nothing else about it, and was blown away. It truly is quite the treat. I'm curious, what about the film, really caught your interest to want to be a part of it?
When I read it, it was a head scratcher for me. I wasn't quite sure what it was I was reading. I knew that it wasn't a conventional film, as it were. My first belief was probably that originally it was not written as a film script, that it probably was written as a theater piece. But even as a theater piece, it's an extremely peculiar piece, And eventually where I arrived as I was thinking about it was that it struck me as almost as a piece of kind of extended poetry. Almost improvisational poetry in a way that the character was kind of free associating, it seemed to me, and ranting and aggressive. It reminded me a bit of Allen Ginsberg, some of Allen Ginsberg's work, in a way, of course, which is a total plus, for me, because it's, it harkens back to kind of the whole beat sensibility, and there's something anachronistic about the Old Man in the first place, it seems to me. So, those are just some of the feelings that were sort of, swirling around as I read it. And I found it intriguing enough to kind of want to, pursue, to find out what it was that was kind of, perking my interest in the thing. And in a sense, the entire shoot, and as I recall, it was 14 days of shooting. The entire shoot that's kind of what it was. It was a constant exploration and massaging of exactly what it was we were talking about in this film, which is extremely, murky.
To say the least.
Yeah. And I'm one who usually seeks clarity, and wants things really laid out in a way. And that was not so much the case with this thing. And I learned to really kind of go with it and, kind of enjoy it a lot.
So for a lot of horror genre fans like myself, we, of course, know you from the Don't Breathe movies as a very different kind of Old Man. And I'm curious, what was it like? I know this isn't quite horror, but it's got horror elements. And I'm curious what that was like for you, finding that separation of these two characters.
Oh, gosh, I don't think that I ever probably spent a moment mingling the characters, in my mind, to be perfectly honest. I find the Old Man the Blind Man, the similarity is that they both have the same last name, Man. There's Old Man and then there's Blind Man. I actually did a film this past spring called Lucky Man. So maybe there are three of them called Man. But in any case, I don't think I ever, the Blind Man, he occupies this whole other area of my brain and my soul and my heart, and when I need to tap into him, I can do that. But this guy seemed totally, this guy is just this sort of, his life is a fevered dream, it seems to me. He's kind of in this loop of delusion upon delusion upon delusion, which is not at all, bears no kind of resemblance to anything that the Blind Man, for example, is associated with. I guess the only thing that they're both crusty old bastards is what they are,
Yeah. they just go about it different ways.
Yeah, that's where the similarity kind of ends,
So then what was it like getting to the heart of Old Man for this film?
I remember it was a very insulated shoot. It was during the pandemic. And we were shooting up in Newburgh, New York, in a good, nice studio there. And everything was very insular. So it was from the hotel to the studio and everything like that. And of course, the set, we're on a sound stage, but within the sound stage, they built this cabin. so, which was where everything was happening. So we were kind of in a work cocoon there, which made it very, very easy for me to kind of just inhabit, the weirdness that this guy. And to be honest, I spent an awful lot of time on this one with the words because there are so many of them, and they're good words. And Joel Veitch, the writer, was there, and we were constantly massaging it, constantly trying to not streamline it, but to kind of make sense of it, to really, and to that was really interesting, I thought, because there was a whole literary aspect to working on this role, which is not necessarily the case with so many. And that, again, fits into my notion that this thing, in a way, is this sort of, he's kind of vomiting out this poem.
Now, like, I hadn't put that thought together, but now that you put that out there, I can totally see what you're talking about. And since you mentioned the very murky nature of the story, I'm going to save this for after the movie comes out, but I am curious. This movie the ending feels like it could have a few different interpretations, and I'm curious how you see the big reveal in the film.
I think that it's a endless. It's kind of an endless loop that it's on. It's a deja vu all over again for him, and that's the nature. I mean, this entire film can take place within the blink of an eye, behind the eyeball of the man who's kind of within this fevered dream. I don't know whether it's real. I don't know that it matters whether it's real. I know that he is in this endless sort of. He's like that gerbil on the mill, who just kind of keeps running and falls off exhausted and wakes up to find that he's still on the mill and running. Where it ends, hard to say.
I agree with you.
It's creepy. It's definitely kind of creepy, and it's kind of sad too. I mean, I find it's a chamber thriller, if one is going to characterize it. Say what genre this is. I don't think it's horror. It's got elements of it in there, I suppose, but it's very much a chamber thriller, and it's really a descent into, I think, kind of madness.
Yes, I agree, and I very much also agree that it doesn't matter whether everything was real or not, because it really is a great way of learning about this character.
One of the things that our director, the excellent Lucky McKee, says is that he talks about the film as an atmospheric film. And, and it really, really is. And in a lot of ways, the atmosphere is absolutely paramount in this thing. It's like if you went into a place to have an experience, but what's really happening within wherever you are is just this atmosphere and everything, that becomes predominant, that begins to dominate. And I think that does happen here. One of the other things that Lucky and I talked about from the get-go was the work of Andrew Wyeth. And that was something, the great painter, the Wyeth family, and the specificity of his work, the starkness of his work, and also there's always often a very foreboding quality to his work as well. And so we strove to do that. That was part of our, Lucky and my, kind of, that was a link that we had in talking about this film.
I'm glad that you had such great talks with one another and got it to where it is, because I think Old Man is just wonderful. I can't wait to revisit it and dissect it even further. So Stephen, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I greatly appreciate it.
Delighted to talk to you, Graham.
Have a good rest of your week.
And you too, my friend. Bye-bye.